This incident happened when I was in elementary school. Me, Big Head, Ah Hong, and Ah Wei were an inseparable little group. Whenever the weekends or school breaks came, we would always meet up and go to our secret base together. We would chat or explore nearby to find fun things to do. Ah Wei was always the most unique one in our group because he could see another world. But Big Head and Ah Hong never really believed him, thinking he was just lying or showing off. One time, we were exploring near our secret base as usual. Usually, we would just walk around the fenced area and then turn back. But that time, Big Head suggested we keep going forward. So, the few of us followed him and crossed over the fence. The place was very quiet, except for the sound of our footsteps on the dry leaves. Everything else was eerily still, with not even a breeze. The branches and leaves were motionless, like pictures hanging on a wall. At the time, we didn't think much about it, but looking back, it was indeed creepy. As we moved farther from the entrance, we suddenly heard the sound of flowing water. Big Head and Ah Hong excitedly rushed ahead towards the stream, shouting happily about discovering a new land. When we reached the stream, they started taking off their shoes to get into the water. I looked at Ah Wei's reaction first because I always believed he could see another world. If he didn't react, it meant the place was safe. So, I happily joined them in the water after seeing no reaction from Ah Wei. Basically, Ah Wei and I got along better because he was the quietest in the class, and everyone thought he was weird. No one wanted to be in a group with him, making him an outcast. But I didn't agree with that behavior. He was just not as lively, so I always brought him along to prevent him from feeling lonely. That day, while we were having fun, Ah Wei suddenly shouted nervously, urgently asking us to get out of the water. He looked terrified, staring at the cliff above us and shouting for us to hurry up. He warned us that the rocks above were about to fall. We quickly ran out of the water, and for about 10 minutes, nothing happened. But Ah Wei remained tense, watching the big rock above us. When nothing happened, Big Head and Ah Hong wanted to go back into the water, but Ah Wei insisted we leave immediately. Seeing Ah Wei's nervous expression, I also started feeling uneasy. So, I listened to his advice and urged the others to get out. Eventually, they reluctantly complied. On our way back, we discussed what had happened. Ah Wei remained silent the whole time until we left that area. Then, I dared to ask him what had happened. He told me that he had seen a ghostly child standing on the big rock above, and the child was smiling strangely. At first, he didn't think the child had any malicious intent, but then he heard the child laughing and repeatedly saying, "Go away. Go away." The child even threatened to crush us with the rocks. Ah Wei was terrified, so he urged us to leave immediately. Ah Wei said the ghost child looked terrifying, with a fierce face staring at him. Hearing Ah Wei's account gave me goosebumps. I would have been scared stiff if I had seen it myself. I was worried the ghost child would follow us, so I urged everyone to hurry home. On the way home, I asked Ah Wei if the ghost child had followed us. He looked around and said no, but he still felt something was off, like the thing had followed us back. That night, as I lay in bed preparing to sleep, I heard the wind outside, sounding like a ghost crying. The window shook violently, making me feel scared, like something was trying to enter my room. I quickly got up and turned on the lights to calm myself down. When the window stopped shaking, I fell asleep again, entering a dream. In the dream, I was in a park playing chase with a strange boy. Although I didn't know him or had ever seen him before, we played happily like good friends, with no guard, just pure joy. The park was bare, with only a few patches of grass, slides, swings, and a sandbox. Thick white fog surrounded us. We kept chasing each other until he ran into the fog and disappeared. I followed him and found myself by the familiar stream again, where the boy was searching for something among the rocks. When I approached him, his face suddenly turned terrifying, with no eyes, Only deep black holes, and his face covered in rotting wounds, with bugs crawling on them. He slowly approached me, still searching the rocks, repeating, "My eyes are gone. My eyes are gone." I was scared and backed away into the water, which kept rising until it engulfed me, almost suffocating me. That's when I woke up, realizing I was lying in bed. The next day, I went to find Ah Wei. He seemed to be hiding something but didn't know how to tell me. I wanted to know what it was, so I asked him directly if he had followed us back. He nodded silently, but his eyes showed fear, mainly directed at my shoulder. Then I asked if he could talk to the ghost child, and he nodded again. I said, "Then help me ask him what he wants." Ah Wei hesitated, trembling, and said, "I'm afraid." I said, "But he keeps following me. What should I do?" After a long silence, Ah Wei finally said he would try to ask him. He hesitantly asked, "What do you want?" After a few seconds, Ah Wei said, "He wants you to help him find something." I asked, "What does he want to find?" "He wants to find his eyes," Ah Wei replied. I was stunned. Yesterday's dream hadn't been shared with Ah Wei. So, who was the boy following me? I asked, "But we're all kids. How can we help him find his eyes?" Ah Wei answered, "He said you should go to Zhongqing village and tell his dad that he wants to find his eyes. If you don't help him, he'll keep bothering you." I said, "Zhongqing village is far away. How do I get there?" Ah Wei said, "He said you have to figure it out yourself." I was shocked but didn't want to be haunted by him forever. So, that night, I begged my dad to take me to Zhongqing village after school on Saturday, and I brought Ah Wei along, hoping he could help translate. Finally, after enduring the week, Saturday arrived. My dad picked us up and drove us to Zhongqing village. The atmosphere in the car was a bit quiet, but thankfully, the journey was uneventful. We found Zhongqing village without much difficulty. My dad rang the doorbell, and a middle-aged man answered. After my dad explained our purpose, the man was surprised to see us, then asked if we could see his son. I pointed to Ah Wei and said he could see him, but I had only dreamed about him. The man thanked us profusely, saying he would do his best to find his son. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he suddenly said, "Wait here." He went back inside and came out with 3 red envelopes for us, saying they were for good luck. My dad took out the cash from our envelopes and returned it to the man, saying we only needed the envelopes and hoping they could fulfill his son's last wish. Ah Wei followed suit, and before we left, the man kept thanking us, his gratitude evident. On the way back, I asked Ah Wei if the ghost child was still there. He said no, but he still felt something was off, like the child's chin was resting on my shoulder. I asked why he always looked at my shoulder whenever he mentioned the child. Ah Wei said it was because the child's chin was always on my shoulder. I was speechless.